What is the biggest, most intimidating problem on your desk right now? I'm not talking about a difficult task. I'm talking about a Goliath. A project with a deadline so aggressive, it feels physically impossible. A competitor who has 10 times your budget, 100 times your staff, and owns the entire market. A career goal that seems so far out of reach. You feel like a fraud just for thinking about it. It's that one challenge that looms over everything. It drains your energy just by existing. It makes you feel small, under-equipped, and completely outmatched. You look at the sheer size of the problem, and your first instinct is to find the biggest weapon you can, to match force with force. You think, if they have a massive army, I need a massive army. If they have a giant sword, I need a giant sword. This is the logic of conventional warfare, and it is the single fastest way to guarantee your defeat. When you are the underdog, playing by the giant's rules is strategic suicide. There is a smarter way, a more surgical way, a way to turn your greatest disadvantage, your smallness, into your most powerful strategic weapon. This approach has a name in military theory and business strategy. It's called asymmetric warfare. And the most brilliant and timeless case study on how to execute it comes not from a Harvard Business Review article, but from a 3,000-year-old story recorded in the first book of Samuel. The story of a young shepherd boy named David, who faced an undefeated giant named Goliath. We all know the story, but we've been telling it wrong. We've been focusing on the miracle, the faith, the divine intervention. We've turned it into a comforting tale about how the little guy can win. But that's not what happened. What happened in the Valley of Elah was not a miracle. It was a masterpiece of asymmetric strategy. David didn't win because he was pious. He won because he was a brilliant strategist who rejected conventional wisdom and created his own rules of engagement. And if you're facing your own Goliath right now, the blueprint David used is just as relevant today as it was 3,000 years ago. If you're ready to stop feeling intimidated and start thinking like a strategist, hit that like button. We're about to deconstruct a giant. Let's set the stage. Two armies, the Philistines and the Israelites, are locked in a stalemate. They're on opposite hills with a valley between them. No one wants to make the first move. To break the deadlock, the Philistines propose a classic winner-take-all scenario. Single combat. They send out their champion, a man named Goliath. The text is very specific about his description, and the details are critical. He's a giant, over 9 feet tall. He's covered head to toe in bronze armor, a helmet, a coat of mail weighing 125 pounds. He has bronze greaves on his legs and a bronze javelin slung between his shoulders. His primary weapon is a massive spear with an iron point that weighs 15 pounds. A shield bearer walks in front of him. This is not just a big guy. This is a walking tank. He is the pinnacle of conventional brute force power. He is the market leader. He is the super heavyweight champion of the world. He is designed for one thing: close quarters, hand-to-hand combat. For 40 days, Goliath comes out and taunts the Israelite army. He mocks them. He challenges anyone to come out and fight him. And the entire Israelite army, including their king Saul, is terrified. They are, in their own words, dismayed and greatly afraid. They look at this giant, and they see an unbeatable system. They think, to beat him, one of us would have to be bigger, stronger, and better armored. They are trapped in symmetric thinking. They are trying to figure out how to build a better Goliath. And since they can't, they are paralyzed by fear. This is the first state of any team facing a Goliath. They are so fixated on the giant's strength that they are blind to his weaknesses. Into this scene of paralysis walks David, a young shepherd. He's not even a soldier. He's just there to deliver lunch to his older brothers. He hears Goliath's taunts, and he sees the fear in the Israelite camp. And he asks a simple, devastatingly strategic question. A question no one else had thought to ask. He asks, what will be done for the man who kills this Philistine? He's not asking, who is this guy? He's not asking, why is he so big? He's asking about the incentive structure. He is, from the very first moment, reframing the situation. Everyone else sees a life-threatening problem. David sees a career-making opportunity. His brothers are furious. They accuse him of being arrogant, of coming down just to watch the battle. They try to put him back in his box. Go back to your sheep. How often does this happen in a corporate setting? The person who isn't paralyzed by the Goliath problem, the one who sees an opportunity, is immediately shut down by the people who are invested in the status quo of fear. That's not your department. You don't understand the history here. We've already tried everything. But David ignores them. He keeps asking his question. He is gathering data. His persistence gets him an audience with the king. King Saul looks at David, this young, unarmored kid, and immediately dismisses him. You are not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for you are but a youth, and he has been a man of war from his youth. Saul is doing what most leaders do. He is pattern matching based on past experience. He sees a shepherd, and his brain says, not a warrior. He is applying the old rules to a new situation. But David makes his case. He doesn't talk about courage or faith. He presents a resume of his relevant experience. He says, your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. This is not a story about his bravery. This is a data-driven presentation of his core competency. David is a projectile weapons specialist. He has spent thousands of hours in the field, protecting his flock from fast-moving predators. He is an expert marksman with a sling. A sling in the ancient world was not a child's toy. It was a devastating military weapon. A skilled slinger could hurl a stone at over 100 miles per hour. It had the stopping power of a .45 caliber handgun. Archaeologists have found sling stones from that period that are the size of baseballs. It was a lethal, long-range weapon. David is essentially telling Saul, you are looking at this as a sword fight. You are framing it as a brute force problem. But you are wrong. This is a long-range projectile problem. And in that specific area, I am the most qualified person in this army. Saul, desperate, is convinced. He says, go. But then he does something that almost guarantees David's failure. He tries to make David into a smaller version of Goliath. He puts his own royal armor on David, his bronze helmet, his coat of mail. This is the classic mistake of the threatened incumbent. And they see a new agile solution, and they try to force it into the old bureaucratic structure. They try to make the startup act like a massive corporation. They try to make the innovator fill out the same paperwork as everyone else. David puts on the armor. He can barely walk. It's heavy. It's cumbersome. It negates his every advantage, his speed, his mobility, his agility. And in this moment, David makes the single most important strategic decision of the entire story. He takes it off. He says, "I cannot go in these because I am not used to them." He rejects the best practices of the system. He refuses to use the king's tools. He understands that the very thing that is meant to protect him will actually kill him. The giant strategy, when adopted by the underdog, is a death sentence. If you are a small company, you cannot outspend the big company on marketing. You have to outthink them. If you are a junior employee, you cannot win a political battle with a senior vice president by playing his game. You have to change the game. This is a profound lesson for anyone facing a Goliath. You must have the courage to reject the tools and methods that everyone else insists you should use, if they do not align with your unique strengths. If this idea is hitting home for you, share this video. Someone on your team might need this permission to think differently. So David walks down into the valley to face the giant. And what does he take with him? He takes his staff, his shepherd's bag, and his sling. He stops at a stream and chooses 5 smooth stones. Goliath sees him coming. He sees this young boy with a stick, no armor, no sword, and he is insulted. He says, "Am I a dog that you come to me with sticks?" He is enraged. His entire identity is built on being the ultimate warrior. He is being challenged by a child. He expects a warrior, a peer. He's prepared for a symmetric fight. David, in response, does not engage in Goliath's taunts. Instead, he delivers a concise, powerful mission statement. He redefines the terms of the battle. He says, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." He is reframing the battle. This isn't about David versus Goliath. It's about God versus the Philistines. He is aligning his personal mission with a much larger purpose, which gives him profound psychological strength. But then he immediately pivots to a tactical forecast. He says, "This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I'll strike you down and cut off your head, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel." He is not just talking trash. He is visualizing and verbalizing his precise plan of execution. And then he does something that completely confounds the giant. He runs. The text says, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet him. Goliath is a heavily armored, lumbering giant. His armor weighs more than David does. His strategy depends on his opponent coming to him, into his kill zone, which is about a 10-foot radius. David refuses. He closes the distance, but he stays outside of Goliath's range. He is controlling the geography of the battlefield. He is forcing the giant to react to him. He is agile. The giant is slow. Advantage, David. He reaches into his bag, takes out a stone, puts it in his sling, and in one smooth, practiced motion, he hurls it at the giant. The stone strikes Goliath in the only unarmored place on his entire body. the small space on his forehead, between his helmet and his eyes. The stone sinks into his forehead. The giant falls face down on the ground. David then runs up, takes Goliath's own sword, the symbol of his brute force power, and cuts off his head. The Philistine army, which had placed all of its confidence in its unbeatable champion, sees him fall. Their morale shatters. They turn and run. The Israelites, who had been paralyzed by fear, are suddenly emboldened. They chase them down and win a decisive victory. This story is a strategic blueprint. It is a timeless lesson in how the weak can defeat the strong. It's not about the size of your resources. It's about the quality of your strategy. So let's do what we're here to do. Let's extract the principle and build the shortage. The core principle is this. Asymmetric strategy is about refusing to fight your opponent on their terms. It is the art of neutralizing your opponent's greatest strengths and applying your unique advantages against their greatest weaknesses. You don't try to be a better version of them. You become something they are completely unprepared for. So how do we apply this? Here is a 3-step blueprint for deploying the David strategy against your own Goliath. Step 1. Reframe the battlefield. Goliath's strength was in close quarters, armored combat. David reframed the fight as a long-range projectile battle. You must do the same. Stop focusing on your opponent's strengths. Instead, analyze their weaknesses. Get a piece of paper. On one side, list all the strengths of your Goliath. Their budget, their size, their reputation, their experience. Now, on the other side, for each strength, list the corresponding weakness. Big budget? The weakness is slow decision-making and bureaucracy. Big reputation? The weakness is a fear of risk-taking that could damage that reputation. Decades of experience. The weakness is a rigid adherence to old models and an inability to see new trends. Your job is to find the battlefield where their strengths are irrelevant and their weaknesses are fatal. Don't fight them in the boardroom. Fight them on Twitter. Don't try to out-advertise them. Out-innovate them with a product they are too slow to copy. Redefine the game. Step 2. Reject the king's armor. David had the courage to say no to the king's armor because it neutralized his advantages of speed and agility. You must identify and reject the king's armor in your own industry. What are the conventional tools, processes, and best practices that everyone assumes you must use? The 100-page business plan? The massive upfront investment? The traditional marketing channels? These are often the very things that will sink you. They are designed by giants, for giants. Your task is to identify your unique shepherd sling advantage. What is the one thing you can do that your Goliath cannot or will not do? Are you faster? More personal? More authentic? Can you connect with a niche audience that they ignore? Can you build a community instead of just broadcasting a message? Your unique advantage is almost always something that looks small and insignificant to the giant. That's why it's so powerful. They will ignore it until it's too late. Step 3. Aim for the forehead. David didn't just throw stones randomly. He aimed for the single, critical, unarmored weak point. In any system, in any company, in any project, there's a point of maximum leverage. Your final step is to identify and target that point with overwhelming focus. Don't try to do everything. Don't try to attack on all fronts. Find the one critical vulnerability and apply all your resources, your time, your energy, your capital, to that single point. For a business, this might be a single, underserved customer niche. For a career, it might be a single high-impact skill that no one else is developing. For a project, it might be the one feature that will deliver 90% of the value to the user. Your Goliath is big and slow. You are small and fast. Your victory depends on a single, precise, and decisive strike. So, let's recap the blueprint. 1. Reframe the battlefield by analyzing your Goliath's weaknesses, not their strengths. 2. Reject the king's armor and identify your unique asymmetric advantage. 3. Aim for the forehead by focusing all your resources on their single most critical point of vulnerability. This is the strategy David used. He didn't get lucky. He didn't wait for a miracle. He analyzed the data. He chose his tools, he controlled the engagement, and he executed with precision. You can do the same. Your Goliath may seem unbeatable, but no system is perfect. Every giant has a weakness. Your job is not to be stronger. Your job is to be smarter. So here is your immediate action item. In the next 24 hours, take 15 minutes and do step 1. Just step 1. Take out a piece of paper and make that list of your Goliath's strengths and their corresponding weaknesses. That single act of analysis will change how you see the problem. It will move you from a state of fear to a state of strategy. And that is the first step toward victory.